Tom was not a hero. He was not a famous explorer, not a commander, and not a scientist with big ideas. He was a worker on a human cargo ship that carried food, metals, and machines across the stars. His job was to fix broken panels, clean the engine lines, and make sure things did not fall apart while the ship moved through empty space. It was not a glorious life, but it was steady, and Tom was used to it. Tom had a simple way of passing time. He liked to make jokes. When the work became long and tiring, when the stars outside felt endless and cold, he would say something silly to make others laugh. Most of the crew liked this about him. They said his humor made the endless dark feel lighter. Even if the joke was bad, it made people smile. That day, Tom was outside the ship. He wore his spacesuit and worked on a broken sensor plate near the hull. The view around him was quiet and beautiful. The stars stretched in every direction, shining like silver sparks against a black ocean. The ship floated alone, its engines silent as it drifted toward the next trade station. Tom hummed a tune inside his helmet. He tapped the plate with his tool and tightened the bolts. It was lonely work, but he was used to it. Suddenly, a thought crossed his mind and he laughed. He pressed the open channel and spoke. "Will anyone marry me?" He said it as a joke. No one on the crew expected serious words from him, not when he was hanging on the outside of the ship. Sometimes Tom asked the stars silly questions. Sometimes he teased the engine and called it his old friend. But this time, something strange happened. A voice answered. It was not the captain. It was not a crew member. The voice was calm, smooth, and unlike anything he had heard before. It whispered through the comm system. "I have been waiting." Tom froze. His hand tightened on the tool. He looked around, but the stars were the same. His suit showed no nearby ships. The system showed no incoming signals. His heart raced. He laughed nervously and said, "Very funny. Who is using the comm?" There was silence. Only the sound of his own breathing filled the helmet. Tom frowned. He thought maybe the system caught some radio noise or an echo. But something about the voice stayed in his mind. It was clear. It was real. And it had answered his joke as if it were serious. When Tom returned to the ship, the crew teased him. "You heard a ghost?" one worker said. Another laughed. "Maybe the stars want to marry you." They all treated it as a funny story. Something to talk about during dinner. Tom laughed along, but inside, he felt uneasy. That night, Tom could not sleep. He lay in his small bunk and stared at the ceiling. He thought of the voice. He thought of the words, "I have been waiting." It sounded like a promise. It sounded like someone had been searching for him. The next day, when Tom returned to his console for routine checks, something unusual appeared on his screen. His navigation panel showed a set of coordinates. They were not from the captain. They were not part of the planned route. The numbers blinked faintly, almost hidden between regular data. If Tom had not looked closely, he would have missed them. He checked the origin. No signal, no source, just coordinates placed there, waiting for someone to notice. Tom felt a shiver run down his spine. He remembered the voice. He remembered the strange reply. Now he had coordinates. A path. He told himself it was nonsense. Maybe a glitch in the system. Maybe a prank by one of the crew. But deep inside, he felt it was connected. The voice had spoken to him, and now it wanted him to follow. At lunch, Tom tried to act normal. He laughed at the usual jokes and ate with the crew. But his eyes kept drifting to the window where the stars stretched endlessly. He thought of what might be at those coordinates. He thought of what might be waiting. Later, when he was alone, Tom entered the numbers into a private map. The path led away from the trade stations. It pointed toward a region of space marked with warnings. Old notes said ships that entered that area never returned. It was empty, dangerous, and avoided by all human travelers. Tom leaned back in his chair. His heart beat fast. His joke had been a simple one. He had not expected an answer. But now, the stars seemed to pull him toward a mystery. When he walked down the halls of the ship, he felt like eyes were on him. He told himself it was nothing. Yet at night, in his sleep, he dreamed of a figure. A tall figure with glowing eyes. A figure that stood on a stone throne and whispered his name. When he woke, the words still rang in his ears. "I have been waiting." Tom rubbed his face and sat up. He was just a worker, just a man who liked to joke. But for the first time, he felt his life was about to change. The stars outside seemed to shine brighter, as if they knew a secret he had yet to learn. Tom's days passed with the same routine, yet his mind was no longer calm. The strange voice and the hidden coordinates stayed with him like a shadow that refused to leave. Each time he sat at his console, he checked to see if the numbers were still there. They were, blinking faintly like a secret message. No one else noticed. It seemed the numbers appeared only to him. The cargo ship moved forward toward the trade station, but Tom's eyes kept drifting to the path that was not on. The schedule. The captain gave orders, the crew followed routines, and life on the ship stayed the same. Only Tom carried the weight of the mysterious call. One evening, when most of the crew gathered in the mess hall, Tom sat alone at his console. The stars. Outside looked endless, cold, and bright. He hesitated, then whispered into the comm, "Who are you?" His voice was quiet, almost as if he feared someone might hear. At first there was silence. Then the comm crackled with faint static. Out of the noise came the same smooth voice, soft and steady. "I am near. I have been waiting for you." Tom's hand trembled. He quickly turned off the comm. His heart pounded. The voice was real. It was not a dream or an echo. Someone out there was speaking to him directly. When he returned to the crew, he tried to smile, but one of the workers noticed his pale face. "Tom, you look like you saw a ghost," she said. Tom laughed and waved her worry away. He could not tell them the truth. They would think he had lost his mind. That night, the dream returned. He stood in a wide hall made of black stone. At the far end sat a throne carved from crystal. A tall figure rose from the seat. Her eyes glowed red like twin stars. She spoke without moving her lips. "Follow the path. Do not fear. You called, and I answered." Tom woke with sweat on his face. His heart raced. He stared at the ceiling of his small cabin and whispered, "What do you want from me?" The next morning, the ship's engines slowed. The captain announced they were passing near a region of space marked dangerous on all maps. The crew spoke, in low voices. Some said old ships had gone missing there. Others said strange signals were often heard from that place. Most believed it was just magnetic storms or old wrecks drifting. Tom knew better. The coordinates pointed straight into that dark region. He felt torn. A part of him wanted to stay safe, to ignore the mystery and finish his work like always. Another part of him, stronger and louder, burned with curiosity. What if this was not danger but destiny? Later, while repairing a water line, Tom's friend, Mira, asked him, "Why are you so quiet these days? You always joke and make noise. Now you look like you are hiding something." Tom thought for a moment. He trusted Mira more than the others. He said carefully, "Mira, what if someone hears you, but you cannot explain to others who they are?" Mira tilted her head. "You mean like a ghost?" "Not a ghost," Tom said. "More like a voice. A voice that knows your name." Mira frowned. "Tom, are you sure you are sleeping enough? Space makes people imagine things." Tom forced a smile. "Maybe you are right." He ended the talk there. He could not share the whole truth. Not yet. That night, when most of the ship was dark, Tom returned to his console. He looked at the coordinates again. His hands shook as he entered them into the star map. A line appeared, pulling away from the ship's current course. At the end of that line was a small moon circling a dead planet. There were no records of colonies, no signs of trade, just emptiness. Tom whispered, "Why me?" The voice answered at once, smooth and calm. "Because you asked." His blood turned cold. He had only been joking when he said, "Will anyone marry me?" Yet the voice treated his words as a promise. For the next few days, Tom felt the weight of choice pressing on him. He could ignore the path and continue life as before, or he could follow the signal and uncover the truth. Every time he tried to focus on work, the whisper of the Queen echoed in his mind. "I have been waiting." Finally, fate gave him a chance. The ship was scheduled to stop for repairs at a small station near the edge of the dangerous zone. Once docked, the crew would rest and some would leave for errands. Tom saw an opportunity. If he wanted to change his path, this was the time. When the ship reached the station, Tom walked among the bright halls filled with traders, miners, and travelers. Yet even in the noise of the market, he felt the pull of the silent coordinates. He purchased a small shuttlecraft using his saved credits. No one questioned him. Workers often bought second-hand shuttles for side work. That evening, while the crew rested, Tom loaded supplies into the shuttle. Food, water, and fuel were packed neatly. His hands shook, but his mind was clear. He could no longer ignore the call. As he prepared to leave, Mira saw him near the docking bay. "Tom, where are you going?" she asked. Tom paused. He looked at her kind eyes and wanted to explain everything. But the words refused to come. He simply said, "I need to see something for myself." Mira frowned but did not stop him. "Be careful," she said softly. Tom nodded and climbed into the shuttle. The engines hummed. The small craft detached from the station and slipped into the endless dark. Ahead lay the dangerous region, the path of the coordinates, and the answer to the joke he had once made. As the shuttle moved forward, the voice returned, clear and calm. "You are close. Do not fear. I will guide you." Tom stared at the stars. His heart was heavy with fear and wonder. He whispered to himself, "What have I done?" The shuttle moved faster. The stars ahead seemed to twist and bend, as if opening a door. Beyond that door waited the truth of the voice, the hidden queen, and the future that called to him. The shuttle glided through silent space as Tom followed the strange coordinates. The stars around him seemed sharper, brighter, and alive. Each one felt like an eye watching him. His hands rested on the controls, but the ship almost moved on. Its own, as if something unseen guided it. The voice had gone quiet for now, leaving Tom with only his thoughts. Hours passed. The shuttle reached the edge of the marked region. Sensors showed weak signals and broken radiation, like whispers of old storms. Tom held his breath as the stars stretched wider. Soon his screen flashed. The coordinates ended at a small moon that circled a lifeless planet. The planet looked gray and cracked, with scars of ancient impact. But the moon was different. The surface shone with dark stone, smooth like polished glass, and near its equator stood a massive structure. Tom leaned forward, his shuttle's camera focused on the shape. It was not natural. A vast palace rose from the moon's ground, its towers sharp like blades, its walls carved with symbols that glowed faint red. It looked older than anything Tom had ever seen, yet it was not broken. It was waiting. The voice returned, calm and steady. "You have arrived. Come inside." Tom swallowed hard. His hands shook, but he guided the shuttle down. The craft passed over dark cliffs and glowing rivers of strange light. Finally, he landed on a wide platform before the palace gates. The ground vibrated faintly as if the moon itself breathed. Tom stepped out of the shuttle. His boots touched the smooth black stone. The air around him shimmered. Though the moon should have been lifeless, he found he could breathe without a suit. The air was cool, heavy, and carried a faint, sweet scent. The palace doors opened on their own, tall enough for giants to walk through. Heart pounding, Tom entered. The hall stretched endlessly, lined with pillars carved with twisting designs. Red crystals glowed along the walls, casting soft light. The silence was heavy, yet he felt he was not alone. Each step echoed like a drum beat. At the far end of the hall stood a throne of black crystal. Upon it sat a figure draped in flowing robes, tall and regal. As Tom drew closer, the figure rose. She moved with grace, her presence filling the hall like a tide. Her eyes glowed crimson, and her face was both beautiful and commanding. Her skin was pale like starlight, and her voice carried power even without sound. "I am the one you called," she said. Her lips moved slowly, but her words also touched his mind directly. "I am queen of this place, last of my kind. You asked, and I answered." Tom's mouth went dry. He stammered, "I was only joking. I did not mean it." The queen stepped closer. She was taller than him, her robes flowing like liquid shadow. "Words have weight," she said. "A call made under the stars reaches farther than you know. I have waited long for one from your people to speak the words." Tom's mind raced. He wanted to run, yet his legs would not move. He asked, "Why me? I am just a worker. I fix panels. I am not special." The queen tilted her head. Her glowing eyes studied him. "You are human. That alone makes you different from all others in this galaxy. Your people carry a fire that does not fade. For centuries I watched the stars. I searched for the right one. Then your voice came to me. Light, careless, yet honest. It was enough." Tom shook his head. "But what are you? What is this place?" The queen raised her arms. The crystals on the walls brightened, showing murals carved into stone. Images of tall beings with wings standing over cities filled the hall. Armies bowed before them, and stars burned in their hands. "My people were rulers of night," she said. "We crossed galaxies, we fed on energy, and we built empires. But time broke us. Wars ended us. I alone remain. I sit upon the throne of silence, waiting for the one who will share it. That one is you." Tom's heart pounded. He stepped back. "Me? You cannot be serious." Her eyes softened slightly, though they still burned. "I am very serious. You stand here because fate called you. You spoke the words that opened the path. You asked for union, and I answered. I am bound to your voice now." Tom ran his hand through his hair. His mind refused to believe it. Yet deep inside, something told him this was real. The palace, the queen, the glowing eyes, the voice in his dreams. None of it was chance. The queen moved closer until she stood only a step away. Tom felt a wave of energy, cold and warm at the same time. Her presence was overwhelming, yet not crushing. She asked, "Do you fear me?" Tom's throat was dry. He whispered, "Yes." She nodded slowly. "Good. Fear shows wisdom, but fear can also be overcome." She lifted her hand. "Come with me, and you will see what no human has ever seen. You will learn truth that has been hidden for ages. You will not be servant. You will be chosen." Tom hesitated. Every part of his mind screamed to run. But another part, the part that dreamed of adventure, the part that had grown tired of endless routine, burned with curiosity. He found himself nodding. The queen smiled faintly. Then follow me. She turned and walked down a side hall. Tom followed, his footsteps unsteady. The hall opened into a vast chamber filled with floating lights. In the center stood a circle of stone, glowing with red symbols. The air hummed with power. "This is the chamber of the pact," the queen said. "Here I will show you the truth. You asked for a bond, and I offer it. But first, you must see my world through my eyes." Tom stepped onto the stone circle. The lights rose and swirled around him. Suddenly his vision blurred. Images filled his mind. He saw her people, proud and strong, ruling stars. He saw their fall, torn by endless war. He saw the queen standing alone among ruins, waiting as centuries passed. And he saw Earth, bright and green, its humans laughing, fighting, surviving. The images ended. Tom gasped, falling to his knees. The queen stood above him, calm and regal. "Now you understand," she said. "I am not a dream. I am not a ghost. I am your answer. You are the one I have been waiting for." Tom raised his head. His body shook, but his eyes met hers. For the first time, he believed her. The queen was real. The bond was real. His joke had opened a door to something far greater than he imagined. The hall was silent except for the hum of the glowing circle. The queen extended her hand. "Rise, human. You stand at the edge of fate. Will you step forward, or will you turn away?" Tom looked at her hand. His life as a worker, as a joker, as a small man on a large ship seemed far away now. Ahead of him stood a queen who had waited centuries. He did not know what choice he would make, but he knew nothing would ever be the same again. The queen's hand remained extended, steady and graceful, as if she already knew Tom's answer. Her glowing eyes did not waver. Tom hesitated. His hands shook, his thoughts tangled, but curiosity pressed him forward. Slowly, he placed his hand in hers. The moment their skin touched, a wave of cold energy ran through him, followed by warmth that spread through every vein. It felt as if stars themselves flowed into his chest. His knees weakened, but he did not fall. The queen's grip was firm, guiding, and unyielding. "You are bound to listen, and I am bound to speak," she said. "Now you will hear the truth of the pact." She led him from the circle chamber to another hall deeper in the palace. The walls here were covered with murals that glowed faint red, telling stories through carved figures. The queen stopped before the largest mural. It showed a tall being with wings stretched wide, standing beside a group of humans. "This is the pact," she said. "Long ago, before your kind learned to cross stars, my people visited your world. We saw humans not as weak, but as different. You did not have great weapons. You did not live forever. Yet you carried a spirit unlike any other. You struggled, you hoped, and you endured. My people saw strength in that." Tom stared at the mural. "You were on Earth?" he asked. The queen nodded. "We came in secret, watching from shadows. My ancestors spoke with your leaders, though only a few. They promised that one day when my people needed it most, a human would be chosen. That human would bind our fading legacy to the flame of your kind. The pact was set, but centuries passed, and my people fell into ruin before the day could come. I remained the last queen, keeper of the promise. I waited." Tom's heart thumped. He tried to imagine his ancestors speaking with beings like her. It seemed impossible, yet the mural and her words carried a weight that felt real. "But why me?" he asked again, his voice low. "There are billions of humans. Why not a leader or a warrior?" The queen's eyes softened, though their glow never faded. "Because the pact was not about power. It was about spirit. My people, Learned that humans are strongest not when they are kings or soldiers, but when they are simple, when they carry hope even in small lives. You are a worker, yet you made a call to the stars with humor in your voice. That humor, that spark, is what I waited for. It was your nature, not your rank, that chose you. Tom shook his head slowly. I never thought my words could mean so much. Words are seeds, the Queen said. They grow when the time is right. Your words grew into the path that led you here. That is the power of humanity. You do not always see how far your light reaches. She guided him further down the hall. Another mural showed her people rising into the sky with cities burning below them. But my people were not like yours, she said. We were strong, but pride blinded us. We thought our empire eternal. We fed on energy, took what we wanted, and believed none could end us. In time, wars shattered us. Our own hunger consumed our worlds. One by one, we vanished until I alone remained. I have lived through centuries of silence, holding the memory of the pact, waiting for the one who would awaken it. Tom listened in silence. The echo of her words filled him with both wonder and sorrow. He saw strength in her, but also loneliness. Centuries alone in a palace of stone and crystal, waiting for someone who might never come. He asked softly, "And now you believe that one is me?" "I do not believe," she answered. "I know. The moment your voice reached me, the pact awoke. It was like fire returning to cold ashes. You are here because fate demanded it." Tom felt a strange mix of pride and fear. A simple joke had carried him into destiny. He asked, "What happens now? What does the pact mean for us?" The Queen turned toward him. "The pact means unity. You are not here to serve me, nor to be consumed by my power. You are here to stand beside me. Together, we will build what was broken. My strength and your spirit will join. Alone, I cannot restore what was lost. Alone, you cannot reach beyond your limits. Together, we will change the stars." Tom swallowed hard. He wanted to argue that he was not ready, that he was just an ordinary man. Yet deep inside, he remembered the emptiness he had felt on the cargo ship, the endless routine, the hidden desire for something greater. Now something greater stood before him, waiting for his answer. The Queen stepped closer. "But choice is yours. The pact cannot be forced. You can leave this place and return to your ship, and I will remain here until time ends. Or you can accept and walk forward with me into a future none of your kind has seen." Tom's mind spun. He thought of Mira back on the station, of the crew who laughed at his jokes, of the life he had known. He also thought of the voice that had haunted his dreams, the images he had seen in the circle, the glowing eyes that now watched him. His chest tightened. "I am afraid," he admitted. The Queen nodded. "Fear is the beginning of courage. Without fear, there can be no choice. You fear because you know the weight of what stands before you. That is good." Tom looked into her eyes. He did not fully understand her, but he felt she spoke truth. The pact was not a trap. It was an invitation. Slowly he said, "If I accept, what must I do?" The Queen raised her hand, and the hall around them shifted. The murals glowed brighter, and the air pulsed with power. "You must face the test," she said. "Not of strength, but of spirit. The guardians will measure your heart. If you pass, the pact will be sealed. If you fail, the path will close forever." Tom's stomach turned. A test. He had no idea what it meant or what waited ahead. Yet he felt a spark of determination. If this was his fate, he could not turn away now. He nodded slowly. "I will try." The Queen's eyes brightened. For the first time, her expression softened into something close to a smile. "Then you are already closer to success than you No! She turned and began walking toward a great door at the end of the hall. It was carved with symbols that glowed deep crimson. The air around it vibrated like thunder. She said, "Beyond this door lies the trial of the guardians. Step through, and your spirit will be weighed. Do not fear what you see. Fear only the choice to turn back." Tom's hands trembled, but his steps carried him forward. The queen pushed the door open, and a blast of light filled the hall. Tom shielded his eyes. When the light faded, he saw a vast chamber beyond, filled with moving shadows and shapes that shifted like smoke. The queen's voice was steady. "Enter. Prove the worth of humanity. Prove the spark that brought you here." Tom drew a long breath. He looked once at the queen, then stepped into the chamber. The door closed behind him with a deep echo. Ahead, the shadows stirred, and the test began. The chamber stretched wide before Tom, darker than any hall he had seen. The air was thick, almost heavy, and shadows moved across the floor like living streams. The walls glowed faintly with crimson symbols, but the light was dim and uncertain, leaving much of the space in shifting gloom. Tom stood still, his heart racing. He remembered the queen's words. The guardians would test his spirit, not his strength, not his rank, but the truth of who he was. That thought gave him a little comfort, but fear pressed hard against his chest. The shadows stirred. From the darkness, 3 shapes rose. They were tall, almost as tall as the queen, but their forms were not solid. They looked like figures made from smoke and starlight, with eyes that glowed silver. Each step they took shook the ground lightly. Tom swallowed hard. He wanted to speak, but no sound left his mouth. The first guardian raised its hand. Its voice filled the chamber, deep and echoing. "Human, you come with claim to a bond. You say you carry the spark that our queen has waited for. We will measure you. We will see if your heart carries truth or emptiness." The second guardian spoke. "There are 3 trials. If you stand through them, the pact will live. If you fail, the path will close." The third guardian's voice was softer, almost like a whisper. "Do not fear us. Fear only yourself, for it is your own heart that you face." Tom clenched his fists. He had never been tested like this. He was a worker, not a hero, but he had come this far, and he could not turn back now. The first trial began. The ground beneath Tom shifted and changed. The chamber melted away, and suddenly he stood back on his old cargo ship. The halls stretched around him, the hum of the engines steady, the laughter of the crew echoing in the distance. For a moment, he thought he had returned. But then he saw Mira. She stood at the end of the hall, looking afraid. The walls shook as if the ship was about to break apart. Fire spread across the floor. Mira shouted, "Tom, help us! We cannot escape!" Tom ran forward, but the fire rose higher. The crew's voices cried out from every side. His chest tightened. He had no weapons, no tools, nothing but his hands. His mind screamed, "This is not real." Yet the fear felt real. The heat felt real. The guardian's voice echoed through the flames. "First trial is courage. Will you run from fear, or will you face it?" Tom stopped. His instincts told him to flee, but he forced himself to stand. He clenched his fists and shouted, "You are not real! This is not the ship! This is only fear, and I will not run from it!" The fire froze. The walls of the ship melted away. The image shattered like glass, leaving Tom back in the dark chamber. The guardians watched him in silence. After a moment, the first one nodded. Courage is seen. The second trial began. The chamber shifted again. Tom found himself in a small village under a clear sky. Children played, people laughed, and the air was warm. At first, it felt peaceful. But then a shadow fell across the sky. A giant figure loomed above, threatening to strike the village. The people turned to Tom, their eyes full of fear. "Save us," they begged. Tom's chest ached. He had no power to fight giants. He had no weapon, no strength. The guardian's voice filled the air. Second trial is compassion. Will you protect others, even when you gain nothing? Tom looked at the people. He knew it was not real, yet he also knew the trial was not about reality, but about choice. He stepped forward and raised his arms. His voice shook, but he shouted, "If you must strike, strike me. Leave them safe." The shadow paused. The giant figure faded. The people's eyes turned soft. Then they vanished like mist. The ground returned to dark stone, and Tom stood once more before the guardians. The second one nodded slowly. Compassion is seen. The third trial began. The chamber shifted for the last time. Now Tom stood in front of a mirror. The reflection was himself, but not the same. The figure in the glass was darker, colder, its eyes hard. The reflection spoke. "You are nothing. You are a worker, a fool who jokes. You think you are chosen, but you are weak. You cannot carry a queen's hope. You cannot carry fate." Tom's stomach tightened. The voice cut deep because it echoed his own doubts. He wanted to look away, but the reflection moved closer, pressing against the glass. "Admit it. You do not belong here. You are a mistake." The guardian's whisper filled the air. Third trial is truth. Will you deny yourself, or will you accept what you are? Tom's eyes burned. He clenched his fists. He thought of his life on the cargo ship, of the times he laughed when others were tired, of the times he kept working even when no one noticed. He thought of the Queen's words, of the spark she said humans carried. Slowly, he spoke. "Yes, I am not a hero. I am not a warrior, I am just Tom. But that does not mean I am nothing. I am human, and being human is enough." The reflection froze. Its cold eyes faded, and the mirror shattered into silver dust. The chamber returned. The three guardians stood in silence, their silver eyes glowing brighter than before. The first guardian spoke. "Courage is seen." The second spoke. "Compassion is seen." The third spoke. "Truth is seen." Together their voices echoed through the chamber. The trials are complete. The pact is worthy. Tom dropped to his knees, breathing hard. Sweat dripped from his face. He felt drained, but a lightness filled his chest. He had faced his fears, his compassion, and his truth, and he had not turned away. The shadows that made the guardians began to fade. Their forms melted into the air, leaving only silence. From the far side of the chamber, the great door opened. Again. Light poured in, and the Queen entered. She looked at Tom with glowing eyes, her expression calm but proud. "You have faced what many before you could not. You are human, and that is your strength. The pact is ready." Tom pushed himself to his feet. His body was weak, but his spirit burned stronger than before. He met the Queen's gaze. For the first time since he had arrived, he did not feel like a lost worker. He felt chosen. The Queen extended her hand once more. "Come, Tom. Your trial is done. Now begins the union." Tom stepped forward, his fear no longer in control. He placed his hand in hers, and the chamber filled with light. The chamber glowed with a warm red light, its energy flowing around Tom and the Queen. The guardians were gone, but their presence lingered in the air like a memory of power. Tom's hands still shook slightly, but his chest felt lighter. He had faced fear, he had shown compassion, and he had accepted his own truth. He had passed the trials. The Queen stepped closer. Her eyes glowed brighter now, and her aura seemed to fill the room. She studied Tom with a calm intensity. "You have proven your heart," she said. "You have faced the trials without faltering. You have shown what it means to carry the spark of humanity. You have passed where others failed." Tom looked at her. His mind was spinning with questions, doubts, and awe. "What does this mean?" he asked. "Does this make me ready?" The Queen's gaze softened, though its glow remained. "It means you are ready to choose," she said. "The pact is not complete until you accept it fully. You have seen the trials, you have felt the power, but the bond requires your will. You must step forward, not as a servant, not as a guest, but as an equal. You must choose to join me." Tom swallowed hard. He thought of his life on the cargo ship, the simple days of repairs and laughter. That life felt distant now, almost like a memory from another man. He thought of Mira and the crew, the friends he had made along the way. Could he leave them behind? But then he looked at the Queen, at the palace carved from black stone, at the energy flowing through the chamber, and he felt a pull stronger than any fear. "What if I fail?" he asked. "You cannot fail now," the Queen said. "The trial tested your heart, not your strength. You have passed. The choice is yours. No one will force you. No one can make you stay. The power waits, but only you can claim it." Tom's mind raced. The power, the bond. It was unlike anything he had imagined. To be with her meant to stand beside a being older than human history, to see the stars in ways no one else could, and to carry responsibility beyond anything he had ever known. Yet deep inside he felt a growing courage. He thought of the voice that had answered his joke, of the coordinates that had called him across space, and of the trials that had tested his spirit. All of it had led to this moment. The path was clear. The choice was his. "I will accept," he said finally, his voice steady but soft. "I do not know everything, but I will stand with you." The Queen's eyes brightened with a light that seemed to shine across the chamber. "Then it is done," she said. "The pact is sealed, not by force, but by will. You have chosen, and in choosing, you have carried the flame of humanity into a new era." Energy surged around them, filling the chamber with warmth and light. The walls shimmered, the cymbals pulsed, and the air seemed to hum with 1,000 voices singing together. Tom felt it pass through him, filling his body with strength, clarity, and purpose. He felt lighter and heavier at the same time, as if he were both himself and something greater. The Queen extended her hand. "Come, Tom, stand with me. See the truth of the stars, the history of my people, and the future that awaits." Tom took her hand. The moment their fingers touched, the chamber transformed. The walls dissolved, leaving them on a high platform above the moon. Below stretched the desolate landscape, but above, the stars burned brighter than he had ever seen. Galaxies, swirled and distant nebulae shone like jewels. "You can feel it now," the Queen said. "The energy of worlds, of civilizations. My people's strength flows through the stars. Your people's spirit connects with it. Together we can reach further than either could alone." Tom breathed deeply. The universe felt alive, vast and full of possibilities. He realized that his joke had brought him here, but his choice had made him a part of something far greater than he had ever imagined. "Will I ever return to my world?" he asked. The Queen smiled faintly. "You may, but when you do, you will carry what others cannot see. You will walk among humans with a power, a perspective, and a purpose that is yours alone. And one day, your people may follow the path we have opened." Tom looked down at the moon below. It seemed small and empty, yet he knew it held the beginning of a new story. He looked at the Queen, tall and regal, her eyes glowing with centuries of waiting. For the first time, he did not feel afraid. He felt ready. "What now?" he asked. "Now," the Queen said. You learn, you grow, and you stand beside me. We will journey through the stars, uncover secrets, and restore what was lost. You will not be alone, and you will not be powerless. You are the human I have waited for. Tom nodded. He had no idea what adventures awaited, what dangers he might face, or how he would manage the weight of the bond. Yet he felt courage stronger than any fear. He had chosen, and choice was what made him human. The Queen led him to a balcony overlooking the vast expanse of space. Look, she said, the universe waits. Not for kings, not for rulers, but for those willing to stand for something greater. Your heart, your courage, your spark, they are the bridge between our worlds. Tom stared into the endless stars. The silence was full, comforting, and alive. He thought of the cargo ship, of Mira, of simple human lives that continued across the galaxy. And he knew that he would carry their spirit with him, wherever this journey led. The Queen's voice softened, almost like a song. You have chosen, human. Let the stars witness your choice. Let your spirit rise. Tom took a deep breath and felt the energy around him settle into a calm pulse. The fear, the doubt, the hesitation, all melted away. He was not perfect. He was not strong in every way. He was simply Tom, and that was enough. I am ready, he said. The Queen's eyes glowed brighter, and the palace around them shimmered with red and gold light. Then together, we step into the future, not as master and servant, but as partners. Not as ruler and subject, but as equals. The pact lives because of your choice. Tom felt the bond solidify, a connection that went beyond words or understanding. He felt the weight of history, the energy of her people, and the spark of humanity flowing through him. And in that moment, he understood that life would never be the same again. He looked at the Queen and smiled, a mix of awe, respect, and excitement. Then let us begin. The Queen extended her hand once more. Tom took it firmly, and together they stood, facing the endless stars. The universe was vast, full of mystery and promise, and now they would face it as one. The palace shimmered with light as Tom stood beside the Queen. The bond between them pulsed quietly, a living thread that connected their spirits. Tom felt the weight of history in his chest, yet it no longer pressed him down. Instead, it gave him strength, purpose, and a sense of belonging. He looked out over the endless stars, knowing the universe had opened itself to him. The Queen turned toward him, her glowing eyes softening. You are ready? She said. The path ahead is vast, full of mysteries, challenges, and wonders. Together, we will travel where no one has gone before. But you must remember, courage and compassion will guide you more than strength ever could. Tom nodded. I understand. I am ready to face what comes. The palace walls shifted once more, creating a platform that floated above the moon's surface. Around them, energy streams swirled like rivers of light, carrying the power of ancient stars. The Queen gestured, and a sleek starship appeared. Its hull glowed faintly red, as if alive, and it hummed with anticipation. This ship, she said, was built by my people for this journey. It responds to the bond we share. Together we command it. Alone, neither of us could awaken its full potential. Tom stepped forward, marveling at the ship's design. The lines were smooth, yet strong. The controls seemed to respond to his touch, even before he pressed them. The Queen guided him to the pilot's seat, and together they connected to the ship. The moment their hands touched the console, energy flowed through Tom, and he felt every system, every light, every circuit as part of himself. Are you ready? The Queen asked. Tom took a deep breath. Yes. Let us see the stars. The ship lifted effortlessly from the moon's surface, rising into space. The stars stretched before them, vast and infinite. Tom marveled at the colors, the swirling nebulae, the distant planets spinning silently. For the first time in his life, he felt small and infinite at the same time. "Where will we go first?" he asked. The Queen's eyes glowed brighter. "There are worlds in need, civilizations forgotten, secrets lost to time. We will travel to each, learn, and restore balance. But first, we must understand the full history of my people and the connection to your kind. The knowledge will guide our path." Tom nodded. He had learned to trust her guidance. He understood that the journey would not be easy, yet the thrill of adventure made every fear fade. The ship moved faster than light, passing through sectors where few humans had ever traveled. Tom watched planets appear and disappear, moons drift past, and stars explode in silent brilliance. The energy of the Queen's people flowed around them, and he felt it in every part of himself. As they traveled, the Queen began to speak of the past. She told stories of her people's rise and fall, of the empires they built, and the wars that led to their ruin. Tom listened intently, absorbing every detail. The knowledge was overwhelming, yet it connected with the spark of humanity she said he carried. "You see," she said, "the universe does not belong to the strongest alone. It belongs to those who endure, who learn, who adapt. Humans have always had that spark, even when unaware of it. That is why you were chosen." Tom thought of his life on the cargo ship, of the small repairs he had done, of the jokes he had told. It seemed impossible that such simple things could carry meaning in the vastness of space, yet he now understood the truth. His spirit mattered, not just his actions. Hours passed in silence as they traveled. The stars moved in patterns that seemed almost deliberate, like a map written in light. Tom felt the bond with the Queen deepen. He could sense her thoughts, her intentions, and she could sense his. They were not merely partners. They were connected in ways that went beyond words. Suddenly, the ship approached a planet, cloaked in a storm of red and gold clouds. Lightning danced across the sky, and the surface seemed to shift with strange energy. Tom felt a pull from the planet, a call that resonated with the energy of the Queen's people. "This world," the Queen said, "was once home to one of our greatest outposts. It was lost when our people fell. There may be knowledge here that can aid our journey. We must land carefully and explore." The ship descended through the turbulent atmosphere. Tom gripped the controls as the winds buffeted the hull. The Queen guided him with calm precision, her presence steadying him. They landed on a plateau of black stone, surrounded by rivers of molten energy. The planet was dangerous, yet beautiful. Strange plants glowed faintly, and crystals rose from the ground like fingers reaching toward the sky. Tom marveled at the alien landscape, feeling both awe and caution. "We must be careful," the Queen said. "The planet is unstable. Its energy can help us, but it can also harm us if we are reckless." Together, they stepped from the ship. The energy of the planet flowed around them, mingling with the bond they shared. Tom felt power, unlike anything before, yet he also felt the responsibility that came with it. They walked toward an ancient temple, half buried in molten rock. Symbols, carved into its walls, glowed faint red, echoing the power of the Queen's people. Tom touched one of the symbols, and images flooded his mind. He saw histories, battles, discoveries, and sacrifices. He saw the Queen's people at their peak and at their end. He saw the connection to humanity, the spark that had endured across time. "This is only the beginning," the Queen said. "There are many worlds like this, each holding secrets and lessons. Together, we will uncover them, and we will prepare for what comes next." Your journey has only started, Tom, and already the universe bends before the bond we share. Tom took a deep breath, feeling the enormity of it all. He could have returned to his old life, to the cargo ship, to simple days, but now he knew he would never be the same. He had chosen a path of adventure, responsibility, and discovery, and he would walk it beside the Queen, the being who had waited for centuries for someone like him. The stars stretched endlessly above, promising worlds to explore, knowledge to gain, and challenges to overcome. Tom and the Queen stood together, hands joined, ready to step forward. The universe awaited, vast and mysterious, and now they were no longer alone. They were a force bound by choice, courage, and the spark of humanity. With a nod, the Queen returned to the ship, and Tom followed. The engines hummed, the stars stretched ahead, and the first step of their journey into the cosmos began. The bond was alive, the adventure was real, and the universe had opened its doors to those who dared to choose. Tom smiled, feeling the power, the responsibility, and the wonder of what lay ahead. "Let's go," he said. The Queen nodded, and the ship lifted into the stars. Together they disappeared into the vastness of space, ready to face the wonders and challenges of the universe. The journey had begun, and nothing would ever be the same again.